Welcome to Monster Remix, where I take familiar D&D monsters and I mix them with some different ingredients that give them new styles and new abilities. Going into the transmutation cauldron this time is the Gnoll. This is a classic staple D&D monster, a hyena-headed humanoid that has demonic origins. Gnolls are aligned with Yeenoghu, a demon lord of slaughter and endless hunger. The baseline Gnoll is a pretty simple creature. It has some basic attacks, and it has a feature called Rampage, such that whenever it reduces another creature to 0 hit points, it can then spend a bonus action to move up to half its speed and make a bite attack, which that rarely happens. It's a very situational type of ability. So that's really it in terms of stats for the Gnoll. It does have some interesting racial lore. It has a cool style. It fills a nice niche as a badlands or savanna type humanoid monster. I do think that D&D needs to be careful and not just go completely willy-nilly and make every single animal into an anthropomorphic humanoid. But some of them are very effective, and I do think a hyena-folk is a very effective and stylish and thematic type of humanoid, so I do like the Gnoll. I think it has a lot of potential. It has a lot that you could build upon. So the Gnoll that is arising from the transmutation cauldron is the Gnoll Petrified mystic. It is part of a secretive Gnoll cult, whose peak experience is a sort of rite in which a shaman or a mystic imbibes this liquid that's been brewed with cockatrice and basilisk blood. Immediately after drinking this, the subject's mouth is sewn shut. Over the next few days, the mystic is beset with a terrible hunger that is gnawing and seemingly consuming her from within, and if she can endure and persevere, eventually the brew will turn her body into a living stone, along with providing some new magical powers. This stony Gnoll spellcaster will typically be watching over a location or guarding a location, perhaps a special den that has natural fortifications of rocks, or maybe even an area of wondrous power, a location imbued with natural magic or unnatural magic that has standing stones. So let's take a look at the stat block here. The armor class has gone up a little bit compared to a basic Gnoll, and it's become a natural armor. The creature is completely stony now. The hit points are slightly higher because I bumped up the constitution a little bit to represent the toughness of the stone. I also gave her a better wisdom score representing the fact that she was like a shamaness or a witch or some kind of Gnoll spellcaster. I gave proficiency with constitution saving throws, again to go along with the tough stone theme. I gave proficiency in arcana and nature to go along with the mystic or spellcaster theme. A major trait here is that she is resistant to all damage except thunder. I looked at the actual petrified condition, and it says that whoever's petrified has resistance to all damage. I wasn't sure that thunder made quite so much sense there. Usually thunder or sonic type damage is particularly effective against stone and mineral. And she is now immune to poison and the poison condition and the petrified condition, again going along with the fact that it's a stone body now. Of course, she still knows the Gnoll language, but she cannot speak. Her mouth was not only sewn shut, but it has fused shut now that she has turned to stone. I did away with Rampage because not only does that feature not come up very much at all, it just doesn't seem to fit with what's going on with the Petrified Mystic. I gave her false appearance such that whenever she's completely motionless, she appears as just a statue. She also has stony form. That means she does not need to eat food or drink water or even breathe air in order to survive. Now getting into the spells to go along with the mystic or witch type theme. She is a wisdom-based spellcaster. Once per day each, she can cast Create or Destroy Water, just the Destroy only. That is going along with her dry, stony theme, dwelling in this semi-arid badlands. I'm thinking she might actually venture out a little bit by night, maybe with some vermin or desert rats accompanying her. Perhaps go to a village and just completely evaporate their well or their water stores. Or maybe her rats will like gnaw upon the character's food and she'll evaporate their water from their water skins. That could be particularly a good challenge in a survival-themed adventure. Grasp of Stone is probably her key spell. This is actually a spell that comes from my book, Esper's Emporium of Esoterica. I'm including it with the stat block here as well. And Grasp of Stone is a second level transmutation spell, has a range of 60 feet and a radius of 10 feet. And whoever is inside the radius of the Grasp of Stone has to make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, you get restrained for 1 minute. You're partially petrified, which restrains you for 1 minute. It's a concentration spell, and the subjects affected, they re-roll their saves at the end of each of their turns, recovering on a success. There's also a stipulation on this spell that it's more potent against lesser creatures. Lesser creatures means a creature whose challenge rating or level is half that of the spell level, so a CR1 or a level 1 or lower. If a lesser creature fails its second saving throw against Grasp of Stone, it instead becomes petrified, and it doesn't make the repeated saves at the end of its turn anymore. It just stays petrified as long as the spellcaster concentrates. And if the spellcaster concentrates all the way for that 1 minute duration, the lesser creatures remain petrified. They are permanently turned to stone. And the third innate spell is Silence. Again, this could be a particularly dynamic and effective type of challenge against the player character spellcasters. The innate spells of the Petrified Mystic do not require verbal components, so she could set up in a combat encounter, putting silence in an area that encompasses the player characters, maybe even herself, and she will not get bothered by that. She can still cast her Grasp of Stone without having to chant. She has a basic slam attack, not her strong point, but it does seem fitting that she should have some kind of basic attack slamming with a stony limb. And last but not least, she has a magical offense called Feral Spirits. As an action, she convokes spirits of desert beasts and vermin that assault one creature within 60 feet. That creature has to make a dexterity saving throw or otherwise take force damage and poison damage, which, by the way, if the target is restrained by that Grasp of Stone, they're going to have disadvantage on their dexterity saving throws, so it combos well with Feral Spirits and the Petrification spell. I also statted out a couple sample encounters. The first one is called Den Among the Rocks, and it includes 1 Gnoll Petrified Mystic, 2 Gnolls, and 2 Cockatrices. So there are potentially 2 forms of petrification going on in this encounter. It's probably most ideal for a 3rd or 4th level party, assuming you have a typical party size of like 4 or 5 characters. If you have less characters, it's going to be a little bit harder, or you can take out a monster or 2. If you have a bigger party of 6 or more, you could add in a monster or 2, or just know that it'll be easier. The second encounter is called the Standing Stones of Dread. That includes 2 of the Gnoll Petrified Mystics and 2 Wights, which the player characters, when they first come upon these standing stones, might not even notice or recognize the monsters here. The Gnoll Petrified Mystics could easily just look like statues, or maybe even just camouflage in with the stones of the site. The Wights as well could be hiding there. So we have these ideal sentinels of the dread standing stones. They don't really need much to sustain themselves, and they can remain there for quite some time to watch over this location of power. So that's all I have for this installment. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Also, look out for Eldritch Castle, which is going to be launching very, very soon. That will be my next narrated interactive adventure. You will be taking up the role of a wizard apprentice, going to your wizardly master's strange and magical castle to try to unravel a grim mystery. As before, you'll be able to influence the character's decisions by commenting or upvoting other people's comments. As always, thank you for watching, and may your adventures be many.